Mario.
Hi. Long time.
Yeah, long time. First time doing a podcast or not really?
No, I've done some podcasts more virtually,
Oh, that's
but
great.
not in studio and mic'd
First,
up and all. I like being able to hear myself.
First time with a pretty lady like me?
Yeah. I'll say yeah.
I have some questions for you, Mario,
Okay.
today.
Shoot. What do you got?
I wanted to know how you saw life when you were a little kid.
The way I saw life as a little kid, and I'm going to take myself back to when I really remembered was about like 6 years old. And what my view was, we didn't have many limitations, I'd say. My mom didn't really have a big pulse on us. She was always running around busy, working a couple jobs. I felt we had a lot of freedom and flexibility to do what we wanted. We didn't have, our father wasn't around at the time. He popped in here and there. I recall one of my birthdays when we lived in Camden. He came by with a video game he bought me, and he pulled up in this Nissan, like a silver Nissan, but it looked really smooth to me. My thoughts of my dad was this cool character, was always smiling, had a good smile, and he was too cool to be around. That was the vibe he gave me. He was too busy, too cool to spend too much time and energy with you. So he would, it felt like 20 minutes, he'd play video games with me. That was the one memory I have with him. And then he took us to a car wash in Pennsauken, right on Route 130 there. And I went through it. And I remember I had a great time in the car wash when, as a kid, you think it's really cool. It's almost like going to a Sesame Place or something. Then he took me back. But again, I felt like the time thing was something. He always had a stranglehold on our relationship where he didn't give me enough time. As I evolved and grew up, I felt that I didn't have his attention, or I didn't have the right, maybe he didn't feel connected to me, or he didn't want to be bothered. It was definitely a complicated upbringing without a father. And when you're a kid, you're not necessarily thinking about what's the whys.
Yeah.
Like the why is he not around?
What do you take like positive from that experience with your dad, and what do you take that you wouldn't do?
The positive I take from him is, as I got to know him later in life, I'm very grateful that he was not in my life consistently because of his theories, his thought process, and the way he views life. As I got older, I saw he would say certain comments that I don't align with now. And I feel he would have molded me in a specific way that wouldn't have been the outcome that I am today, or the outcome I plan on being for my son. It's a blessing that he was not in my life and my mom was, and I had to navigate the waters on my own. It gave me some resourcefulness as well as a flame to put myself in a better position throughout life. And by not seeing my father and seeing the way my mother really had to overcome a lot of obstacles with paying rent, dealing with a bunch of bullshit, living with our grandmother, it made me think, if I'm ever going to do this the way my mom did with a kid, I need to be in a good place of financially, mentally, spiritually, my health, everything has to come together. Because I saw my mom riding on two wheels most of her life because she was imbalanced. So she had a couple flat tires and it felt like we were just making it through sometimes. She was a very clever, smart woman. I think anyone that's from the city, she had this street smarts about her. She had a high IQ, I think a little low IQ, but she had some special gift of telling you, she had a superpower of saying things to motivate you to do really well at. And I appreciate that with her, where if I wasn't playing good at a basketball game, she would come to the game and be brutally honest with me. She loved tough. She really loved very tough. And I appreciate it about her. And I do the same thing with my employees. She will come to the game, I would tell you at halftime, and say, you know what? I have to go work another shift. And I don't want to go to work where the last visual I have is you playing like shit because you're playing bad right now. I know you're better than this. Why don't you go out there, make your mom proud, and perform? And just stuff like that was like crazy, like motivating. She was definitely a big, she was the North Star for me as I was younger growing up. And then as I evolved, I knew that I parted ways, I think, with certain thoughts that she had, where I had my own theories on things and how I saw life. But she was a big part of my life from 6 to about 18, I'd say. She really did have a big impact.
If I ask you, what specific role did your mom play in your life as a kid to make your dreams come true?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a great question. My mom, man, she gets me emotional thinking about her and talking about her. I lost her 5 years ago. She had diabetes and she didn't take care of her health. And it was really because she, as I worked backwards of why she didn't take care of her health, she put my brother and I first over everything. And it's a testament to how much she really sacrificed. She sacrificed everything for us. And not a lot of people would do it. She really did a great job, I'd say, putting us in a position to be successful as the best she could. She would buy me sneakers and not pay the electric bill. That's the way my mom was. And she would tell us this. And she had these little quirky things about her, the way she would deliver a message, but she sacrificed unconditionally. I think about, she was studying to be a CNA, which was in the nursing world. And I remember being extremely proud of her because she would always study these definitions and learn all these different things in medical. I'm not a medical guy, but I'd be like, damn, my mom's smart. And she kept remembering these note cards and rattling them off at me. And she was so excited to be the next step. She was like the lowest level, like a CNA, I believe. It was something lower on the totem pole. She worked so hard to just get like an honest living. She thought every 2 weeks she got a nice paycheck, but then if she advanced and took the next step, she would get a really big bump. She dedicated herself to become an LPN. And unfortunately, she got really sick around that period. But I remember the most proud of ever was of my mom was of watching her study extremely hard when she got back from work and remembering all the note cards and stuff. She was definitely very impressive from a work ethic standpoint.
Mario, you told me your mom took you outside of the United States for the first time,
Yes.
and that was the Philippines, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that experience in your life?
The experience didn't kick off as the best experience because we encountered a very long flight of 27 hours. And when we got there, it was extremely hot. We were flying into a third world country. So it was just not something I was expecting. As the trip evolved, about 2 to 3 weeks in, I started coming around to liking the place because we were able to connect with some local guys that were basketball. They loved basketball just like I did when I was younger. And they had something different that I'd never met to other like American friends I had at the time, because I was 17 at this time, of how like extremely happy they were for not having anything. We would play basketball with these guys and they did not have shoes. They wore flip-flops. And I felt strange because I was wearing shoes, they were wearing flip-flops, and I felt like I wasn't trying to create this I'm better than you mentality. But they didn't even look at it that way, which in certain ways internally I appreciated that because there was no like judgment that I was better than them, but also I didn't look down on them. There was this respect that we really had. 17 years old, I'm thinking about this. They all were extremely present and grateful. They did not put money, anything above just being there, having fun, playing basketball, to showing me this little place where people would gamble locally. It was cool, and they took me to a pool party and stuff, but I took a lot out of that by seeing how their culture was very much, they didn't put materialistic things above all. And at a young age, it made me, I guess the internal wiring of me, I'm the same way. I don't really care about things. I never really did, but in some weird twisted way, it could have happened then where it helped, I'd say, solidify that it doesn't matter because of meeting these people.
Yeah. Do you think that experience in the Philippines, it's connected to your current staff that is mainly from the Philippines?
Yes, I would say yes, because there's a reason my mom took me there. There was a reason why my mom was connected to the culture. And then in some spiritual, weird business way, I was able to reconnect with the Philippines. And some of the greatest employees I've ever had are from the Philippines, and they're what, on a completely different time zone, but they're incredibly loyal, great team players, and I couldn't imagine running my business without them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think, based on that experience of traveling very young, do you think that made you to be the man who you are in today's date and liking to travel so much?
Yes. Traveling for me, and I would suggest everybody to travel abroad, not only in the States. It gives you so many different layers of depth to you by being able to relate to cultures, understand politics a little bit differently, because you can talk to locals, and if you listen and observe what's really going on and what's not, and there's a sense of living too. You're really experiencing some amazing, fascinating things. I think it's the best thing where you're connecting to something that is like your past. Because I look at, like, when I went to Laos, where my dad's from, I was able to connect and see like my family tree in front of me. And then also realize that if the Vietnam War didn't happen, my dad would still be living here. If he lived here, I wouldn't be born. Tracing your traveling back to your roots is pretty damn powerful. And that was one of those moments that really shook me up in a way of saying, damn, this is wild how this guy from this house that showed me had to come all the way over here. He could have went to France, could have went to Canada, but somehow he wound up in Camden, walked down the street, met my mom, and now I'm born. But yeah, that right alone, it was a powerful of showing your origin from doing.
Having those roots, where your mother has roots from Italy, dad from Laos, you are a very multicultural person. I heard that you married a South American woman.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about having that background of multicultures and then marrying a woman that is not from your culture.
I go back to when my first time I ever seen a therapist. She told me, whatever you saw between a specific window of time and your ages is typically how you're going to see life and what you're going to be. And one thing that I saw from my mom was she was very fascinated by another culture, or wanted to have some type of identity. And she was really into, like, she was into Asian people. I don't know why she did. She was. For me, I was always open-minded, let's say. And meeting my wife was I felt very comfortable with a foreign person. Some people have a problem with their language, accents, or their cultural things, but I like the quirkiness of the cultural dynamic. And outside of her culture, just the way she lives, her moral compass, the principles she lives by, seeing her routines and habits daily are inspiring for me. And it makes me feel, for the first time with another person, I'm not doing enough. But I'm also 38 now, and I'm a little slower than I was when I was 27 and 28, because then I would be super competitive with trying to outdo her. But I don't feel the sense of let her be, let her keep pushing, and I'll hang out in the background. I'm cool with it. I don't need to be the guy.
How did she fit in your life as a real estate investor and a business owner?
The unique piece to her was I didn't put much stock or faith into bringing her into my life from a business standpoint. Our first date, I didn't speak one word of what I did for a living. She didn't even know what I actually did, because I just didn't feel the necessity to bring it up if it wasn't asked. As we hung out more, she started understanding that I was in real estate. I was doing some things pretty big. And as I saw where she was at in her life with not able to have her daughter around, and she was working a couple, I wouldn't say dead end jobs, but jobs that really weren't going anywhere. And I saw her, just her dedication. I think the two pieces I saw from her that I really respected was her dedication to going to the gym and how consistent, and she didn't let anything get over way of going to the gym. Didn't matter if she worked as a bottle service overnight and got up the next day and went to the gym, like routinely. Then the other thing was she was working like a medical job because she was a physician before. She was tied to medical and did a couple other jobs as well. With Andrea, I saw that you can't teach discipline and you can't teach those work ethic things. As I saw what she was capable of, I asked her one time, I think I had a problem with the cleaning lady. I asked her if she wanted to make some extra money, and she was always down. It's crazy. She was willing to roll up her sleeves and scrub a toilet. She didn't care. I just respect that because I'm the same type of person. But she was willing to do things. And when she was the cleaning lady, she started out cleaning. I wouldn't say cleaning lady, but she was my lady, but she was willing to clean, make some money, help me out, and everybody wins. And she did an amazing job. She was an incredible cleaner and would knock out properties extremely fast, but then give me feedback of things that were not completed by our contractors. And I liked that dynamic because I never had a cleaning lady think a couple steps of, hey, this is not done, or they forgot to put a toilet paper holder, or they left a bunch of trash behind. Cleaning people never told me that. I was like, she thinks a little differently. This was the biggest moment where I thought she was way bigger than anybody knew what she was capable of. Was I had her handle my construction company's social media account, and she grew it instantly to 7,000 followers, which was cool. I'm not really into social media, and I didn't care about it, but I really cared about a specific project that was tedious, time consuming, and you had to be extremely creative to put it together. It was a crazy idea I had with my entire construction staff, and her just sitting in a room, like helping take notes. And I came up with an idea of, we needed to have a cover. We needed to put materials inside, display images of what before and afters look like, and good, better, best options from a flooring, paint, all these things standpoint. It was a Monday. We had our meeting. The same week on a Friday, she brought me the pamphlet that she had created from a local printer. And it was something that Floor & Decor would create. It was unbelievable. And I remember walking around the room, showing all our contractors. And as I showed them, this is one thing that I picked up on, was the look in their eyes of fear. It was the first time I saw other men fear this woman of, oh, fuck, she's good. And it was like a crooked smile I got from these guys. And the crooked smile meant I'm not performing. And as she inserted herself, I would say as nicely as she could, we started getting people exposed left and right. And the exposure started allowing me to see what my core values were as a person, as well as who I would align with most. And my wife and I can ruffle feathers with whether it's employees, people externally, because if we know something and we know it step by step, sub item, detailed, XYZ, up and down, left and right, we're going to stand to our guns. I don't know how, but she's exactly built like me. You will feel our weight when something doesn't line up or doesn't align. Can't control it. It's probably something my mom gave me and something that her parents gave her. But so, yeah, we're very passionate about what we know and what we know is true and what works. And that's where some of the core values have come together, because we not only live it, we walk it, talk it, eat it, and that's just who we are. But we've hired some great people that are aligned with those building blocks of what makes us successful.
You're currently in real estate, a real estate full-time investor and CEO of 3 different businesses.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years investing out of real estate, or what would be your plan in 3 to 5 years from investment standpoint?
Real estate will always be something I will keep, manage, have for my family long term. But it goes back to when I was a basketball player and I didn't want to play professional basketball because I felt I had an identity crisis. Everyone thought I wasn't smart and I could just play basketball and I was really good at it, but didn't know anything. My biggest pivot was I need to be really good at something besides basketball. And real estate was the thing. I'm sorry, actually sales was the thing. I became very good at sales, but it took me a long period of time to execute selling, know how to pitch deals, how to close deals, how to negotiate, and I became excellent at it. But you can't really help others in sales, especially the sales I did, because it was a very transactional business and I could make money, but I couldn't create a legacy or create a dynasty, I would say, like you can in basketball. Then I had the thoughts of I always thought real estate landlords were rich because my mom always paid a landlord because she was always a tenant her entire life, never owned a piece of property. And I bought a duplex and saw the power of just money coming in every single month that I didn't have to work extremely hard for. Because when you sell, you have to work extremely hard at solving a problem, convincing someone, putting it through an implementation process, making sure it functions, it works, and then you get paid and everybody's happy. Real estate was a lot simpler, and I'm a very simple person. I liked the simplicity of it, and it became a numbers game and then learning the ins and outs of how it worked. But my pivot will be something different in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm not that one trick pony, as I mentioned. I look at different services, subscription-based services that I can get my foot in the door with, whether it's a vertical market inside real estate or other things related to NFTs, cryptocurrency, emerging markets around the world. But I definitely think from a triangular approach. I'm never looking in a one-dimensional way. Anytime I buy real estate, my wife knows this, my team knows this, even the sellers that I deal with know this fucking guy thinks of the craziest shit, and we don't know how you can manipulate it and make it work because my thoughts are like 7 steps ahead of what something so simple could be. And as I travel, that's why it goes back to traveling, I see all these unique business concepts, ideas, the art scene, the digital scene, and real estate. There's definitely an evolution at some point, and I'm going through it right now, kicking out ideas to my wife, which half of them are crazy and a couple have stuck. There will be an evolution, but real estate will always be something I will possess because there's a no-brainer to have real estate, period. And it's a fun business to be in.
Now that you're talking about going outside of real estate just to see the world, how do you see Elon Musk move about buying Twitter and strategy-wise?
Strategy-wise, this is my crazy thoughts of him buying Twitter because I don't know if people see it this way, but I see it this way very clearly. Elon Musk has Tesla, he has a vehicle. He has the orbit because now he can shoot satellites in the air. He possesses the entire satellites in the air where he has Starlight, who beams his new Wi-Fi company. When Elon Musk looks at things probably 1,000 steps ahead, I'm well behind the guy because I think about what he's thinking, but he's able to execute complex things in very simple ways that everyone can utilize. What he's going to do with Twitter is he already has the orbit. He already has all the satellites in the air. He has the rocket ship to shoot him up there. He has the Wi-Fi, but he doesn't have the cell phone business. This is my thoughts and opinion. He's going to turn Twitter into a WeChat business where it's similar to how you can connect to people with communicating by calling them, but also a cell phone service. He's going to eliminate in some weird way, like the Verizons to me, the T-Mobiles of the world, and take Twitter into this different platform where communication is handled by him. Because
like
that's
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp or WeChat from China. If he can somehow, remember, his brain is extremely brilliant. He's going to have, that's why he fired everybody to Twitter, because he has a certain thought process of what he's going to do with Twitter. And it's a bridge in communication. It's not just having the town square approach of anybody can say whatever they want. It's the communication that he's after. Twitter already has an existing brand of communicating. If he can take the existing users and turn them into subscribers in some way, shape, or form, he can do it because he has the base of people on Twitter. So what's the easiest transition is somehow turning Twitter into this communication platform that could offshoot like a Verizon, a T-Mobile, and eliminate those expensive costs by creating a lower cost to enter by driving the market to bring customers in by charging a cheaper, say, phone service. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be different. This is just my crazy thoughts of what he's going to do with Twitter. But I could see something extremely big because he would not overpay for a platform like Twitter because it's the lowest to me of the pecking order of social medias without a big idea. And the guy has a huge idea and I love the way he thinks. And I can see him really transforming a lot of things in the world, especially through Twitter.
Now that we're talking about real estate, other type of businesses, Elon Musk ideas, if you go back to college and you can talk to those kids that they don't know what direction to take in life in this crazy era that we live at, what would be your best suggestion to them to take as the best approach?
I would say it's hard. I went to a liberal arts school, which prides itself on knowing a lot or knowing a little bit about a lot, being diverse in your thought process. The college I went to definitely didn't give it to me. It stood for liberal arts, but I would say as a college person is you'll never know your first couple years of where your career path is or what you want to do. Just the general person. For me, my thoughts were playing professional basketball. And then after that, I had no thoughts or any place that I wanted to go. However, I knew I possessed a pretty good way of communicating with people and convincing people to come with me to a party or go somewhere with me. And it evolved into sales. Whatever natural ability that you do have, or just the gift that God gave you, I would say seek the arena, that gift that is given you first. It may not be your first place or stop in life, but remember, there's other stops along the way. My first stop, I was there for 9 years, but then over time, there's a thinking, there's a traveling, there's the integration of getting smarter and learning different things. And then I pivoted to real estate, and then I kept moving and grooving throughout my life. In college, I would say, try to identify and be very self-aware on what you're good at, and not so much what you like, but what your strengths are. Are you a great listener? Are you a great communicator? Are you really a great artist? Are you a great person that can take complex things and make them simple? There's a place for you, but figure out what you're really good at first.
What is your thought on a word that I want to make emphasis because I think it's where the world is going to? What's your best description or the thought on the word performance?
We could start in college or where people are or where society is. Everything is based on performance, and there's an exchange of your value based on how you perform. We can watch yesterday's game where Bryce Harper hit a home run, and he's been hitting a lot of home runs. He's been batting about 400 the entire playoffs, but he gets paid $330 million for 10 years to perform. And he probably should get paid more than $330 million because he's such a great performer. But there's a reason why there's levels to getting paid based on your performance. The higher level you perform, or the bigger problem that you solve, and you can perform solving that problem, you get paid a bigger chunk of change. And if you do not put yourself in a position to have to perform complex things or things that are harder than easier, you already found your lot in life of where you're going to get paid, because it's based on performance. And that's just how it is. If you have something very unique, a widget that is going to solve a problem, you're going to get paid based on it performing, because other people want that widget because it solves a big problem, even if it's like a toilet plunger or something. everything has a value to it. So performance is big. I would say if you or sports will bring out the performance. I guess for me, when I was in sport, you can clearly tell who all stars are, who superstars are, what potential looks like. And as you go through it in years, you can see some guys that were superstars because they didn't work at it. They dropped a step down, or then a guy got taller and he kept working at his game and he became really good, but he performed. And it can go into the arts. You can walk in and just see a violinist and you're like, God damn, he's special. You just know. Some people are just naturally gifted. They're special, but there's a performance part to it too. You can't just be gifted and have ability without performing and executing on the abilities. Performance, that's the way I look at the word performance as a whole.
That's a great explanation. Mm-hmm. And to make a different topic, totally different, what are your thoughts about what's going on with Kanye West and all the craziness about Jewish and what's going on currently with
Kanye?
that? Yeah.
I would say Kanye has a different way of thinking. And if you can look past whether he's making derogatory comments or Adidas is getting rid of him, he's just trying to have you question things. I think he really just wants he's a big questioner of what everybody says. And is that right? Or is it wrong? And he may disrupt people by the questions he asks or his theories, but he's really just a questioner. He's very curious. He doesn't sometimes communicate it the right way, but that's just his personality. And he's an extremely intelligent person, but I think his emotions wrap into his intelligence and it comes off the wrong way. But I've watched the interview on Drink Champs, and he really just seems like he just questions narratives, and he doesn't want people or somebody to tell him how to think. And if you're looking at him from any other way than that way, you'd have to just take the emotion out of what you feel Kanye's doing to you, or if he is creating chaos. Just take the emotion out and just think of it just like from a context of what's he trying to say here?
Accomplish. Yeah.
He's trying to accomplish by just seeing like these people are trying to make you think this way, but maybe you can challenge it. That's the way I look at Kanye. I don't think he's complex, but he's a challenger and he questions things.
Yeah. Thank you so much for today's podcast.
Absolutely.
It was great to have you on my channel. Do you want me to